Hi, my name is Michael Tweddle. I'm the Director of our Technical Strategy here at Quest Software. And today we're going to talk about audit and keystroke logging. So before we hop into it, let's discuss some key reasons why organizations need to audit activity. The first one is really around compliance. Organizations today are facing so many compliance and regulatory restrictions that they need to be able to satisfy compliance requirements by being able to audit everything that happens within their environment, especially around separation of duties. Second is around security. Just to improve the security and efficiency of their environment, they need to know what is happening, what people are doing within the environment. Secondly, once they know what people are doing, they can start to hold them accountable for the different actions that they're performing, whether it be malicious or just within their day-to-day activity. But we need to know who is actually performing these actions rather than just some elevated or super user accounts. We also need to have some built-in controls within the environment. So once we can actually audit and determine who is doing what within the environment, we can start to build in some better internal controls from a compliance and regulatory standpoint. And finally, since we do audit all of this information, we do have the proper forensics in place to go back and do our due diligence if an audit does happen. We can really go through and feel comfortable with what people are doing within the environment because we have all of this audit information. Now, a lot of organizations kind of struggle with who do we actually audit and what do we actually audit. First of all, it's recommended that we definitely audit contractors. So these are not our regular full-time employees, so we really want to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck from these contractors and making sure they're do what they're actually paid to do. Secondly, we want to audit new hires. So these are employees that have just hired onto the organization and are just being trained to start to do their day-to-day jobs. So not mainly from a malicious standpoint, we just want to make sure that they're actually doing their job properly since they are new hires. We also want to begin to audit any elevated privilege activity. So these are any super users that are logging into the environment so we can properly audit and manage what they're doing. Next, we want to audit short timers. So if someone has decided to leave your organization during their last 2 weeks on a job, we just want to make sure that we audit everything that they do within the environment. Next, we could even audit based on specific hosts. So if I have these critical Unix or Linux machines, I just want to audit every single activity that happens on those machines, regardless if it's a contractor, a new hire, or even a short timer. Next, I may want to audit things that happen throughout specific times of the day. So maybe I have a maintenance window that's from 10 p.m. to midnight. So that's when I want to really perform my auditing and make sure that I audit and track everything that happens during that maintenance window. And finally, within the Unix world, there may be just certain commands that I want to audit. So any elevated command, such as if I want to kill a process, that specific kill command I want to make sure is audited every single time that happens. So as we talk about why we want to audit and then really what and who we want to audit, Quest Software has a solution called Privilege Manager for Unix that meets all of these requirements. So let's talk a little bit about how Privilege Manager really works. First of all, we have a client who represents either a contractor, new hire, short timer, and so forth, that's actually going to perform some elevated command. So the client actually goes through Privilege Manager master's machine and actually tries to perform the task. Now what the Privilege Manager master machine does is that we actually are going to go check the policy configuration to look at a few different things. First of all, who is this client, and does this client have access to perform that command? Now, the policy configuration is either going to allow or deny that command from happening. If the command is allowed, we will pass that information back to the master, and then the master machine itself will tell the agent to actually perform the command. Now, once the command has been properly executed, the agent is going to communicate this back to the master machine, and the master is going to do a couple different things. The first thing that it's going to do is that all relative audit information is going to be written to the event log. And this is basic information such as who was this client, was the policy checked properly, was this policy actually allowed or denied, and how did the command actually execute successfully. In addition to logging this basic information, if configured right, the master can also do some I/O level logging. And this is much more granular, in-depth logging that we can provide about the commands that were actually executed. And these are things such as being able to capture every single keystroke that was entered in when the client requested the master to perform that action. And all this information can be displayed and replayed either within a web interface or within the master machine itself. Now, in addition to just this basic logging information that we talked about, there's other level of logging that we can do within Privilege Manager for Unix. First of all, we talked about our basic event logging, and this is what really this all function means. So we're doing basic logging for really a lot of things that happen within this process, such as who is this client, the IP address of the machine that the command came from, the time that the command was made, the actual host machine that the command was executed on. So a lot of really valuable information that gets logged just basically within the solution. If you want to take it a step further, we can start to get more granular about this entire process. So Privilege Manager itself can actually write information into the syslog of these agent machines to get more granular information about what happens. Next, we can get to the highest level of logging that we do, which is really this keystroke logging. And as we mentioned before, this keystroke logging is what gets outputted to this I/O log, and it gives you valuable information about every specific key and command that was executed from the client to the master, and gives you a very usable screen that you can actually watch those commands and replay exactly what happened. In addition to just these basic level and granular level of logging, Privilege Manager also can log X events, and it can also log file pointers. So a tremendous amount of information that we can collect about this entire process just within the logs and the auditing that we can do. Now, a challenge that organizations have is once I have all of this information, what do I do with it? How do I actually start to go through all of these logs, all this information that's been audited, and make sense of it? How do I actually start to organize it? Well, Privilege Manager for Unix does centrally organize and centrally store all of this information. Everything that gets stored in here can also be searched. And it can be searched on a lot of different syntax. It can be searched based on the client executing the machines. It can be searched based on the host that's actually performing the action. It can be searched based on the command that was run. It can be searched based on the time of the day, the specific commands as well. So a lot of valuable information just being able to search within here. So to recap, Privilege Manager for Unix solves lots of these auditing needs. And it does this based on being able to collect basic level of logging information, granular level logging of information that we can write to a syslog, and probably most importantly, we can do the I/O level logging that actually does capture the keyboard input and actually the display output of all the commands that are actually run. And the reason that we do this is because of these reasons here. Being able to properly audit everything that happens within the environment. So if you want more information about Privilege Manager for Unix, please visit www.quest.com/identity-management to get more information specifically about Privilege Manager, but also the entire Quest One identity solution set. Thank you.